making as able use of its opportunity by convening the ministerial briefings of UN Security Council on non-proliferation issue of the DPRK. I have to mention about that the meeting today is none other than a desperate measure plotted by the US, being terrified by the incredible might of our republic that has successfully achieved the great historic cause of completing the state nuclear force, cause of building of a rocket power through a great November event. I believe that if non-proliferation issue is to be discussed, the first countries to be brought before the Court of Justice at the US, who is the kingpin of virtual and horizontal proliferation, popping astronomical almost of funds into the modernization of nuclear weapons and hindering in every way the denuclearization of the Middle East, and Japan, who keeps more than necessary stockpile of plutonium and seeks every opportunity to produce nuclear weapons. Our possession of nuclear weapons was an individual self-defensive measures of defend our sovereignty and rights of existence and development from the US nuclear threat and blackmail, and anyone is to blame for it. The US is the one who must be held accountable. There are several nuclear power states over the world now, but there is no country like the US who is continuing to openly threat and blackmail other countries with its nuclear weapons. We could easily draw to the answer of this case, only being noted now much amount of money of the US is running through for the maintenance and modernization of its nuclear weapons. It is already well known to the outside that the US has now stockpiled more than 4,000 nuclear warheads in its nuclear arsenals, deploying over 115 technical nuclear bombs over the territory of its NATO allies, and is now planning to consume of around $1 trillion for its nuclear weapons maintenance and modernization during 30 years in future. All of the figures above clearly prove that the US is only the ringleader in nuclear proliferation. It is also disturbing to see the UN Security Council acting like tools of the US and playing to each turn instead of keeping impartiality as the lifeline in its activities through to its mission to pressure international peace and security. It is the UN Security Council of today that, while ignoring our repeated requests to bring the issue of the provocative and aggressive joint military exercise on the table of the Council, the most graphic manifestation of nuclear threat and blackmail of the US keeps itself busy knowing to the US that assessed sanctions and pressure against us by condemning our self-defensive measures. The DPRK, at every time when the US-South Korean joint military exercise that threatening seriously the peace and security of the South Korean Peninsula, its region, and the world are waged, submitted the letters to the Security Council for 11 times from the year 2015, requesting to raise the issue and discuss it immediately at the Council. However, on the contrary, turning away its face at every time of our request for such aggressive joint military exercise to the last, the UN Security Council has adopted 11 sanction resolutions against my country, denouncing our self-defensive measures as a threat to international peace and security. With all above-mentioned facts, we could easily prove unfairness, double standard, and party prejudice of the Security Council. As we have clarified in the government statement, the development and advancement of the strategic weapons of the DPRK are entirely to defend the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of the country from the U.S. nuclear blackmail policy and the nuclear threat, and to ensure the peaceful life of the people, and therefore we would not pose any threat to any country and region as long as the interests of the DPRK are not infighting upon. Reiterating once again, our nuclear force is served thoroughly for each mission as self-defensive deterrent, and it is fully according to the Rule 51 of the UN Charter, stipulating the right of exercise of self-defense measures to be made by individual UN member states. The DPRK is in accordance with the decree of the Supreme People's Assembly adopted on 1 April 2013, has established the abolished perfect system and order of stockpiling and maintaining the fully guarantee any kind of illegal transfer of nuclear weapons, its technology, and weapon-grade nuclear materials. As of the result, there is no single case being raised about our nuclear proliferation up to the moment. All of the data of impurity related with my country's proliferation scattered by hostile forces are totally groundless plot intending to defame the dignity of the DPRK, the powerful nuclear state, and nothing but the only violation behavior of intervention by picking up the issue of strengthening of our national defensive measures. The possession of the nuclear by the DPRK could not be the violation of any international law and regulation in any case, for the DPRK had withdrawn from the NPT in a most justified way. At the same time, it is clear to everybody that the DPRK does not inform any interest of other countries, and the purpose of possession of nuclear deterrent is only for self-defensive and to safeguard the peace of the region. The DPRK, whatever what says, will march forward and make great advancement victoriously as world's most powerful nuclear any military state, upholding the line on simultaneously development of the two fronts. In accordance hereby, I reform once again that the DPRK, as a responsible nuclear power and a peace-loving state, will sincerely fulfill its non-proliferation obligation assumed before the international society, and put its every effort to achieve the noble cause of safeguarding world peace and security. Thank you.
I thank the representative of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea for his statement. The representative of the United States has asked for the floor to make a further statement. I give the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Rex Tillerson.
Thank you. I'd like to take a moment to respond to the statements of the DPRK permanent representative. First, I think we have heard all of these things before from this government. There is no doubt that the DPRK's pursuit of of a nuclear arsenal is in clear violation of international law, directly challenges the global non-proliferation regime, and greatly threatens international peace and security. This body has unanimously made these points for well over a decade now. The international community condemns North Korea's pursuit of a nuclear arsenal, and we will never accept a nuclear North Korea. The DPRK's unlawful acts cannot be ignored, nor can they be explained away. The DPRK must be held accountable for its actions. And in that regard, any notion that the source of tensions on the peninsula are the fault of no one party, there is but one party that has carried out illegal detonation of nuclear devices. There is but one party that continues to launch intercontinental ballistic missiles in violation of UN Security Council resolutions, overflying another sovereign nation, Japan, threatening civil aviation security because these launches are undertaken with no notification. There is but one party that has been targeted with punishment and penalties through the most vigorous regime sanction ever enacted, and that is the Kim regime in North Korea. They alone are responsible for these tensions. They alone must take responsibility for these tensions, and they alone can solve these tensions.
I thank His Excellency Mr. Tillerson for his statement. I shall now make concluding remarks in my capacity as the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Japan. Japan has consistently devoted itself to create a free and democratic country, respecting human rights and abiding by the rule of law, and to support peace and prosperity in the Asia-Pacific region as a peace-loving nation. The path Japan has walked as a peace-loving nation will not change in future and contribute to the peace and prosperity of the world more than ever before. In our meeting today, we have condemned in the strongest terms the acts of provocation by North Korea in violation of relevant Security Council resolutions. We once again made it clear that the international community will never accept a nuclear-armed North Korea. I call on all the member states to fully implement the relevant Security Council resolutions and maximize international pressure on North Korea in order to realize a denuclearized Korean peninsula. After our presidency this month, Japan will leave the Security Council. However, we will continue to cooperate closely with the remaining and incoming members, as well as non-Security Council members, so that the North Korean issue will be properly addressed in the Council. I resume my function as a President of the Council. The representative of the Republic of Korea has asked for the floor to make a further statement. I give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Cho Hyun.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I am compelled to reply to North Korea's truly regrettable arguments. As shown in the multiple United Nations Security Council resolutions, the international community has repeatedly made it clear that it will not recognize North Korea as a nuclear weapons state in any case. North Korea must stop provocations and sincerely return to dialogue for denuclearization. Hopefully, North Korea will recognize that this is the only path to a secure and stable future. Thank you.
There are no more names inscribed on the list of speakers. The meeting is adjourned.